Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian. I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction Company. We're taking a look at some of the guns that are coming up for sale in their September of 2016 premiere auction. And I have one here that has absolutely no markings, and I really don't know any historical provenance on, and neither does Rock Island, as best we can tell. However, it's an interesting mechanical piece, and so despite not knowing who made it or when, we can probably make some guesses, and it's an interesting gun to take a look at. So I'm not going to bother with any further ado out here. Let's bring the camera in up close and take a look at this thing. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind is, oh my god, what kind of weird deformity in the hand did this gun's designer have? Although it actually, as long as you don't mind having an extremely high bore axis, this isn't terribly bad for grip. It's weird, it's not great, but it's not totally horrible. Now what's interesting about this gun is the way in which it works. Normally, in order to revolve the cylinder of a revolver, the most common method is to have a hand in the back plate here and a series of ratchets on the back of the cylinder. And the hand is this little thing that pushes up, which hits the ratchets, rotates the cylinder. Now a secondary method, which is a lot less common, but which you do find, is to have a zigzag pattern of grooves cut on the outside of the cylinder. And then you'd have a stud here in the bottom of the frame that rotates in, or that runs back and forth in those grooves, forces the cylinder to rotate. You see that in, for example, the Webley-Fosbery, the Mauser 1878 revolvers, and a few others out there. This kind of uses a play on that. But this is, as far as I can tell, pretty much a unique system for operating a revolver. What we have here are a series of diagonal splines, I suppose you'd call them, on the outside of the cylinder. And then in the bottom, we have a track that moves back and forth and has a diagonal slot cut in it. So in order to cock the revolver, you use this finger piece down here. And you can see right there, we've got this diagonal spline running in that slot and rotating the cylinder. So now it's locked in place. At the same time, the space between these two splines is the same width as this bar that runs back and forth. And so that forces the cylinder to lock into position because it can't rotate to either side with these splines being blocked, as they are. Now, we have our firing pin here, which, interestingly, by the way, the firing pin is just a threaded piece in this, what looks like a hammer, and so you can very easily adjust the firing pin depth of contact or take it out entirely. Then, when you're ready to fire, I'm going to hold on to this, pull the trigger, which releases this bar, drops down, and the firing pin obviously hits a primer and fires. To recock the piece, you do it again. So this is a single action only gun, and now we can get to the problem with it. This actually seems kind of clever. It's certainly a neat idea at first glance, but reloading is an issue. So there's a loading gate. You open the loading gate, and then you put a cartridge in, and then you rotate the cylinder to put in the next one, which you can't do. Well, that's because the hammer's down. That's typical. We need to put this at half cock, which allows us to freely rotate the cylinder. Well, there is no half-cock position, and because of the way this mechanism works, there can't be any half-cock position. The hammer firing pin is directly connected to this piece, and this piece positively rotates the cylinder. There's no position we can put this in which the cylinder is free to rotate. So I can put one cartridge in there, and by the way, there is no ejector of any sort. You'd have to get a stick or just hope the cases fall free. I can put a cartridge in there, but then in order to rotate it, I have to cock the hammer. Okay, now I can put a cartridge in there, but the one I put in first is now directly under this firing pin, and in order to rotate the cylinder another position, I have to lower the hammer, the firing pin, all the way down onto that cartridge, which is a bad idea. That's just asking for an accidental discharge. And then you have to repeat this process 4 more times to fill the rest of the chambers. So I don't know that there's any particularly good solution to this problem. short of being really, really careful, I suppose. Or the other thing you could do is unthread the firing pin. And then, I guess that would probably be the best actual safe way to do it, is unthread the firing pin so it comes far enough out that it's not actually going to contact the primers. And then you go through this cocking mechanism to load all 6 chambers. And then you would have to remember to replace the firing pin, and you want to get it to the right protrusion length. Too far in and you'll pierce primers, too far out and you won't detonate them. And then you can actually go ahead and fire. So now, in this designer's defense, this was clearly an experimental piece. This, I mean, with no markings, it's all in the white. He put some definite work into it. I mean, it's pretty well finished here. It's a nicely produced gun, and it doesn't bear the really rough markings, machine markings of many prototypes. But despite that, this is clearly an experimental design and not ready for actual sale. For all I know, it may not ever have been intended for sale. This may have been someone's personal project, just a gun that they wanted to make for themselves. People still do that today, and people certainly did it 100 years ago. In terms of general characteristics, I would estimate this at somewhere like 1880s style, with the single action only, with the loading gate like this. That's a late 1800s type of feature. The sights seem like that. This doesn't appear to be a modern production gun. All the features really do point to, like I said, 1880s, maybe 1890s. Late enough to have centerfire metallic cartridges, but early enough that, well, frankly, early enough that tinkerers, like whoever made this, hadn't started working with automatic pistols so much. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely something weird, out of the box here to take a look at today. If you think it's out of the box enough that you'd really like to just own it yourself, well, take a look at the description text below. You'll find a link there to Rock Island's catalog page on the piece. You can take a look at their pictures and description and place a bid right there online, or come here in person to participate live in the auction. Thanks for watching.